Well, it turns out we were right. There is absolutely no plan by the United States of what to do next on invasion plus one in Venezuela. None at all. Forget what Donald Trump said about we're in control. Big oil will take over. They better not resist us or we're going to come in with a second wave. All completely undermined by Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. And Marco Rubio's main interest here is not Venezuela. His main interest is Cuba, his family's homeland. And I'll talk about that next from my perch of being in Miami. I'll talk about how Marco Rubio has dragged us into a conflict with Venezuela in order for us to do something similar in Cuba. And then the winners and losers are obvious, besides the American people. And the Venezuelan people in Venezuela who are not celebrating on the streets the way they are in America with the exile community. They are scared crapless by what is in place, who is running their government. It's obviously not Donald Trump. You know, it is the military junta apparatus of Maduro left over, and those like his vice president, the vice president's brother, the interior minister, the secretary of defense. That's who's running it. And Marco Rubio didn't help matters by going on Sunday morning talk shows and telling the world that we just care about policy and oil embargoes. Wow. Okay, the other loser is J.D. Vance and Pam Bondi. J.D. Vance, is he really the heir apparent to be the MAGA successor to Donald Trump? I don't think Donald Trump thinks so. He had no interest whatsoever in making sure that J.D. Vance was in the room for any of the photo ops during that press conference. You know, the one where a fatigued, completely gassed, low energy, dragging Donald Trump, leaning on the podium, ordering in a tone of voice that I can only describe as ordering at McDonald's on a drive-thru. I'll have a Big Mac, a filet of fish, French fries, greatest military operation ever. We now are in control of Venezuela. You know, like that. So where is he in the photo? J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States. Okay? Who's in the room? John Ratcliffe, CIA director. Makes sense. CIA's leading this operation, as they do most coups and regime changes over the last 75 to 100 years that we've been involved with. CIA in the room. Okay, I sort of understand that. Stephen Miller, yes, the co-president for domestic affairs and the interior minister for Donald Trump. I understand Stephen Miller being in the room. I understand sort of Pete Hegseth being in the room. He is the Secretary of Defense. And Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. All right, I sort of get that. Joint Chiefs, kind of get it. General Kane, welcome. Where's J.D. Vance? Where's Pam Bondi after they told the world that this is not a military operation? This is a law enforcement operation to aid the ability of the Department of Justice to prosecute Maduro. Now, Maduro's being arraigned later today. I'm going to get some live reporting from Adam Klasfeld of All Rise News, who's going to the arraignment. I'll try to get him outside the courtroom. It'll be cold. And he'll get his reports here on Legal AF for you. But I want to play some clips just to show you from what the poetry of the press conference with Donald Trump and the prose the following day, completely undermining everything Donald Trump said. But there's also another ramification here. The real world impact on people in Venezuela, not the ones that are in, you know, the areas of South Florida that I'm in, you know, like in Doral and in Weston and in Kendall. They're all excited. Sure, they're here. I'm talking about the ones there, you know, in the homeland that are having a rough go of it, especially with a Secretary of State who is undermining their national security. Here's Donald Trump saying that we are in control of the country and we'll use our judiciously until there's a transition or whatever he said. Play the clip.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition, and it has to be judicious. We want peace, dignity, and justice for the great people of Venezuela, and that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their countries. Somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the Venezuelan people in mind.
Let's compare that with Marco Rubio debating this issue out with George Stephanopoulos on ABC News, where he effectively says, I took my notes here, he effectively says, we'll be running oil policy, embargoes, we're going to try to change policy, but I wouldn't say we're in control, which leads Stephanopoulos to have to ask a follow-up question about who's in control. Let's play that clip.
So is the United States running Venezuela right now?
Well, I've explained once again, I'll do it one more time. What we are running is the direction that this is going to moving forward. And that is, we have leverage. This leverage we are using and we intend to use. We started using already. You can see where they are running out of storage capacity. In a few weeks, they're going to have to start pumping oil unless they make changes. And that leverage that we have with the armada of boats that are currently positioned allow us to seize any sanctioned boats coming into or out of Venezuela, loaded with oil or on its way in to pick up oil, and we can pick and choose which ones we go after. We have court orders for each one. That will continue to be in place until the people who have control over the levers of power in that country make changes that are not just in the interest of the people of Venezuela, but are in the interest of the United States and the things that we care about. That's what we intend to do. The legal authority is the court orders that we have.
When the president was asked yesterday who will be running Venezuela, he said it was you, he said it was the defense secretary, he said it was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Are you running Venezuela right now?
George, I've explained again that the leverage that we have here is the leverage of the quarantine. So that is a Department of War operation, conducting, in some cases, law enforcement functions with the Coast Guard on the seizure of these boats. I'm obviously very intricately involved in these policies. And by the way, very intricately involved in moving forward and what we hope to see some of these changes being addressed.
Now, right away in the press conference, Donald Trump bragged early on not about a legal law enforcement operation, not about regime change, not about drug trafficking. And there's no fentanyl that comes out of Venezuela, by the way. It's coke primarily. So, or the coke trade, okay? Which very few people overdose on coke, by the way. I don't know the exact statistics. Fentanyl, different story. Heroin, oh yeah. Coke, not so much. Anyway, he says in the very beginning of his press conference, it's all about oil. Big oil is oil companies in the U.S. are ready to go in. Remember that phrase? Let's play that.
As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country.
That's not what Marco Rubio said. Marco Rubio said no one in the Trump administration has even spoken to big oil. I think Chevron is the only one that still has assets in Venezuela as of now. Citgo long ago had their assets nationalized. And so you just heard Marco Rubio go, like, I don't know. This is like the Wizard of Oz. Ignore that guy. Ignore that guy in the back. I am the great and powerful Oz, as Marco Rubio tries to clean up after Donald Trump.
The president used the word oil 20 times in this press conference. You talked about these tremendous oil assets that Venezuela has. But the president's last envoy to Venezuela, Elliot Abrams, is publicly arguing that you know better than the policy you're backing. He said, quote, Venezuelan plutocrats or U.S. oil executives seem to be coming to Mar-a-Lago and whispering about how easy life would be if we just made a deal with the regime once Maduro was gone. Is that what happened here?
No, that's not what happened here. What happened here is that we arrested a narco trafficker who's now going to stand trial in the United States for the crimes he's committed against our people for 15 years. And the person who helped him, of course, his wife, who was co-located with him, so she was arrested as well. That's what happened here. As far as oil, look, oil is critical, not just to fueling economies all over the world. It's critical to Venezuela's future. Their oil industry is completely destroyed. It's destroyed all those oil fields that used to produce a lot
Right.
and wealth for their country and their people. Those things are decrepit. They're bankrupt. They need to be reinvested in. It's obvious. They do not have the capability to bring up that industry again. They need investment from private companies who are only going to invest under certain guarantees and conditions. That has to go to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. Right now, all of that wealth is stolen. It's stolen, and it goes into the hands of oligarchs around the world and the oligarchs inside of Venezuela. A handful of people benefit from it. The people don't benefit from it. On top of that, it's very simple, okay? In the 21st century, under the Trump administration, we are not going to have a country like Venezuela in our own hemisphere, in the sphere of control and the crossroads for Hezbollah, for Iran, and for every other malign influence in the world. That's just not going to exist.
So you've got that going on, and the reality is that the decapitation of the Maduro regime and the kidnapping is not regime change. You know, when Saddam Hussein and others toppled, and we helped with provisional governments, we went in, set up provisional governments with tribal council leaders and U.S. representatives. We're not doing that. You know who's in charge of the country by their corrupt constitution? Delcy Rodriguez. She's Maduro's vice president and a powerful leader. She once held the finance and oil ministries at the same time. Her brother, Jorge Rodriguez, basically runs the National Assembly, which is their legislature. And then you've got Diosdado Cabello. Diosdado Cabello may be he's bigger than Maduro. He's the interior minister, and he's more powerful, has more people that report to him in the regime's apparatus than probably anybody else, and he's still in power. In fact, he went on their television, their national television, the day after Maduro was kidnapped with his wife, wearing a bulletproof vest, and said to everybody, "Don't worry, but we martial law, everybody get off the streets." That's why I'm so concerned about the people of Venezuela, not the Venezuelan Americans or people that are here by way of green card status or other status. I'm worried about the people in Venezuela with a government here that demonstrates every day that they are being led by a mentally declining Donald Trump, who's getting worse and worse with age, more erratic with age, can barely keep his eyes open to announce whatever he said he announced. You would have thought there was a new government, and then he crapped on Maria Corina Machado, who's the super popular exile leader who won the Pulitzer Prize. Oh, she's not that popular. Oh, I don't think she's a nice lady. It's always misogynist. She's a nice lady, but she won't be able to run that government. Let's play that clip.
Are you less aware of the location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President, Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the leader.
So we're going to have to continue to follow it. I have a unique vantage point here in Miami. We have a huge, huge Venezuelan population here. And the new mayor of Miami, Mayor Higgins, she's announced that, and taking a strong stand against the Trump administration, that the temporary protective status program, the TPS program for Venezuelans, should be immediately reinstated. Because obviously the country, they can't go back to that country. Who's running it? Nobody. Donald Trump's not running. I wouldn't let Donald Trump run a bath, let alone a second country. So I give a kudos. I'll do more with Eileen Higgins and have her hopefully on Legal AF to talk about these issues. So in the meantime, I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF. Come over to Legal AF Substack and help us continue to grow that community as well. So until my next report, this is Michael. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.